all the learners of the certificate course in consumer protection offered by the School of Law, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Today we are going to discuss another important subject called consumer responsibility, which is not very well known or understood as it is being understood as the consumer rights. Now this subject rather is covered under our course code CPI 101, Block 3 and Unit 11. Now, once we should understand the consumer rights and its responsibilities are two sides of the same coin. That means one right cannot be separated from the responsibility. In other words, there is no right available to anyone who is not ready to discharge his duties and responsibilities. That is the importance of. So it is two inseparable aspects. So consumers will find it very difficult to enjoy their rights at a long-term basis without taking the consumer responsibility. Consumer responsibility refers to the voluntary, willing action by the consumers without any force on by internal, external, sources. So let me give an example. See, right is your valuable right which you can enforce if it is violated by the legal mechanism provided under the law. But responsibility is not like that. Something more. What is the? It is more than the we can, let us take the legal, moral, ethical. These are the three aspects that one should remember whenever we talk of the responsibility. Law is the basic minimum requirement that the person is supposed to follow, but moral or morality is above the law, and the ethics above the morality. Let me give an example by explaining this, understanding this. What is moral, ethical, and law? See, if what is prescribed in the law, like the shopkeeper has to sell a commodity which is having the required quantity, purity, validity, and all those. It is the duty of the shopkeeper. But let's suppose if you go to the market and finds a shopkeeper who sells the outdated product to illiterate person. Now here you have no responsibility legally to stop the shopkeeper from selling the outdated goods, but morally and ethically you have a duty to tell the shopkeeper, look here, don't sell the outdated product to the person, to such illiterate person and all. Similarly, you go to the markets. Again, it is the duty and responsible cost of the shopkeepers to use the proper weighing weights, like proper weights. But in India, you go to any market, the shopkeepers particularly the vegetable markets and the street market vendors, they don't have that proper weights with them. They sometimes use the stones also based on their own assessment. Again, they have the duty, legal duty to do that. But if they don't follow that, again, we can tell the shopkeepers or a shopkeeper selling the vegetables to the illiterate person, illiterate lady, by using this type of improper weighing instruments. Now we have no legal duty, but morally we can tell the shopkeeper, stop the shopkeeper from selling such type of products without the proper weighing machines. So these are the different. What is legal? Morality is the person takes more responsibility than what is required under the law. Similarly, the ethical also. This I think you must have understood the difference between the legal duty and the moral or ethical duty is concerned. This is what I wanted you people to understand. Now, the ethical, coming back to the ethical aspect of it. Ethical is a step above the morality. Ethical is the very highest standard which one has to follow, observe the principles of the higher order. Ethical and ecological facts of the consumer behavior have helped to evolve the concept of the consumer responsibility. As I said, consumer responsibility is based on ethics and the rationality and morality. There are no definite set of consumer responsibilities. That's what I gave you some examples to make you to understand. Consumer must exercise restraint in consumption of goods responsibly. As I said, you suppose we cannot say randomly or mercilessly consume whatever is sold by the trader. We have the response before purchasing. Let us go to the medical shops. Now you ask for medicines. but it is also our responsibility to see that whether the medicine sold by the medical shopkeeper, whether it contains the minimum essential legal such as validity period, whether manufacturing date is say printed or not, or who is the manufacturer. These are the the information that would contain the document. Very often we come across in some certain shopkeepers, no, they remove the price bill in the label is there. They remove the in the place of prices, they put a sticker so that the consumer is not in a position to understand the exact price of the commodity, so that he can fix in the higher prices. So these are the, we have a responsibility. It's not that only we have the right, we have to protect ourselves, not only ourselves, our environment also, even though we have the responsibility to the society also. Therefore, not only that, when you purchase the medicine from the shopkeepers who is selling such type the goods by putting a sticker on the label, that you should stop him. Even when you come across such type of sale, even to the third person, to an unknown person, then the responsible consumer comes into play in a larger scale. As a society, we have a consumer is the responsible citizen for each and every consumer is. Therefore, that has to be, we have to discharge our responsibility, even though it is not legally required under the law is concerned. To be precise, conservation of the environment for the betterment of the future generation cannot be forced upon the consumers of the present generation. However, the present generation consumer must make a cautious effort to reduce their consumption, choose environment friendly alternatives, and also conserve and preserve energy. Indeed, a responsible consumer is a person who exercises one's own discretion with full awareness of the implications of one's own right to choose, and also accountable or answerable to other consumers and to the environment for one's own purchase and decisions. Now, consumer responsibility has three phases. First phase, the consumer is more concerned only with value for money, information, and the production of consumer goods related to him or her only. He is not concerned with others. He is concerned with his own value of money. Everything is related to himself. But in the second phase, slowly, the consumer started realizing the consumer rights as provided in the Consumer Protection Act 1996 and 2009, and on one hand, and exploitation of consumers by large-scale corporations and institutions by indulging in unlawful and unethical market practices, and in the process started challenging their own actions through available mechanisms under law. Let me explain further. See, we have already have a CD on video on this consumer rights. Please request to all the people to refer the video on consumer rights, where there are 8 consumer rights that you have a legal right. If the consumer rights are violated, you can go for the consumer forum and fight for your rights, and also you can seek redressal for the grievances. Whereas in the case of consumer responsibility, it is a phase by which in the initial stage we are concerned ourselves, but after the enactment of the Consumer Protection 1980s followed by 2019, then the rights have been legally recognized in the Consumer Protection Act. With the result, now everybody is aware of the consumer rights, and therefore now they are more informed. They are more aware of their own rights, so they can go in the second stage, they can go before the consumer court and seek for redressal. But in the third stage or the third phase, the consumer has become more aware of the environmental implications of the each product available in the market, hence realize that the duties and responsibilities as a consumer, as a citizen, a responsible citizen also. That is what the 3 phases. First phase, self oriented. Second, having knowledge about the consumer rights, and the third first, concern for the community as a whole in the larger sense of including at the global level also. Now, observance of principles with the consumer rights organization. The consumer rights organizations are very much, there are very plenty, institutions or organizations are functioning not only in India but across the globe also. Again, they have the due responsibility. What are the responsibilities of the consumer oriented organizations? Number one, they should critical awareness. That means consumer must be awakened to be more questioning about the provision of the quality of goods and services. And again, in our earlier slides on goods and services, we have discussed what constitute goods, what constitute services. Services include banking service, insurance, even transport, travel, and even telecommunications, etc., etc. Now, then second, the principle to be followed, the involvement or action. That means consumer must assert themselves and act to ensure that they get a fair deal before the unscrupulous traders, distributors, and the producer, so on, so forth. Now, the next principle is the social responsibility. That means consumer must act with the social responsibility. With what are the examples I gave? Legally, you are not binding. Legally, you are not expected to do certain acts. But as a responsible person, responsible citizen, responsible consumer, you can stop the activity which are not in accordance with the law, with helping the like rural people, illiterate people. For such type of people, you can help voluntarily by telling the producers, distributors, wholesalers, retailers to do acts which are prohibited under the law is concerned. The sensitive, the important of their own, in particular in relation to disadvantaged groups in the community. That's what I explained about all those things. Now let us move on to other important aspects. Ecological responsibility is another concern of that consumer-oriented organization concern. What they should, there must be a heightened sensitivity to the impact of consumer decisions on the physical environment, which must be developed in an harmonious way. Now the next final principle is the solidarity. That means the best and most effective action is through cooperative efforts, through the formation of consumer citizen groups who together can have the strength and influence to ensure that adequate attention is given to the consumer interest. As I said, consumer interests are very, very important. Consumer rights are also equally important, and these consumer-oriented organizations have in a better position even to take up to deal with all matters related to the protection of consumer interests, including taking of the matter approved with the government and the government-related bodies and the authorities concerned. Now, as a citizen, as a consumer, as I already about the citizen as a responsible consumer, a person's range of actions and interactions extends from one's own home to the marketplace as a consumer. So, see our own actions and inactions that not only emanates from home, but it goes to the market also. It is part of the market behavior. But the area of activity of its citizen as a consumer expands to encompass not only what one can carry from market to one's own home for personal use, but also it includes what one can give in return to the society and the environment. These are the examples I gave it to you in the manner in which you can contribute to the say society by telling the traders to follow the rules and regulations prescribed under the law with regard to the protection of the interest of the consumers concerned. So responsibility is wider than the right is concerned. It is you have to rise above your level. You from self you should come out of yourself. So to discharge your role as a responsible citizen is concerned as a consumer. To give an example, as a user of market commodities, consumer takes partial responsibility for garbage disposal. Even it's a garbage disposal, not only the job of the municipal corporation, but we as an individual have a responsibility to ensure clean environment around ourselves only. So we need not leave everything to the municipal corporation, let them do everything, let me say confine to my own house. No, that's not going to help us. So whatever we can do, whatever from our loan, like I told in one of the seats also, the municipal corporations inform the residents to separate between the wet and dry garbages. How many of us are doing this? You find it out. We never give importance such of the instructions also. But if you do it, that will minimize the burden on the part of the municipal corporation. Or else, the municipal corporations have to do that separation, which is not that easy. At the home level, it's easy for us to separate wet garbage and dry garbage. But once you put together everything in a very large quantity, it's not that easy in the way. Therefore, it means that we are indirectly, unconsciously contributing to the environmental degradation unconsciously, not only to ourselves, to the society also. There comes the responsibility of the consumer. If the consumer is a car owner, for example, he or she can automatically assume responsibility for reduction of the pollution by either choosing to use it only when necessary or by using lead free and lead petrol also. See, even no these days, not only that, generally whenever there is huge traffic is experienced, a group of people, instead of everybody is having vehicle these days, but people resort to say forming groups to come to the office and go to the office. Instead of, let us say there are 4 people are residing in one place and they are working in the same place also. They, instead of 4 people taking the vehicle, they come together, realize their response towards the society, and they form a small group and a pooling of a car, and in that way they help the society also. This is what the consumer responsibility is. It is not binding on you that you should do like that, but we as a citizen, we realize the importance that we can contribute to the society also in terms of not using the vehicle, so that will ultimately reduce to the pollution level. If everybody or people resort to this type of group of pulling of the cars by coming to the office and going to the market, definitely the pollution level come down. That will ultimately benefit the entire society as a whole. This is how the responsible consumer we can help the society. Then consumer intervention influence on market. How the consumer intervention can influence the market also, there is a good example of it. Example for consumer responsibility. The consumer should always check correct weights and measures. I already referred about dates of the manufacture and expiry, even the pricing and ingredient labeling, the inclusion of quality mark, ISI, AGMARK and EGMARK and all. Warranties and the guarantees given before making a purchase. As I said, now we have to take care of all those things, because ultimately we are going to the final consumer. If anything is a mistake or wrong, or anything is there, then we are going to be the sufferer. Therefore, we have to, before making the purchase, before making the payment, we have to make sure that the product we purchase is within the expiry period, and we are paying the correct price only, and the product contains the record ingredients that's per the law, and it's the quantities perfect, the quantities proper quantities there inside and all, and the quality also, prescriptions are followed and all. So we have to spend few minutes, read the material and the instruction as in the particular given the label. Thereafter we can take it. Particularly, let me see our viewers, please go for that date of the expiry, which is very commonly ignored even in urban and metropolitan cities and all. Take care of it, so that we will be helping everyone. Then market knowledge of individual leading to environment impact globally. Consumer responsibility towards the environment, which is global issue, makes him a citizen of the world. This involves awareness of environmental impact. Environment impact not only on the individual family but on the society is very important. For example, the use of chlorofluorocarbon free air conditioners and refrigerators. It also involves conscious rejection of non-biodegradable packaging and the minimal use of chemicals at home. Now let us move on to the ethical consumer. I discussed about the morality of the consumer and the ethics of the consumer also. The term ethics means values, principles or rules of conduct followed by individual, group or culture as a whole. Ethical purchasers are those who may have political, religious, spiritual, environmental, social or the other motives for choosing one product or over the another. Who is right and who is wrong is not at all an issue at all. What is common is that the consumer are concerned with the effects that a purchasing choice has not only on themselves but also on the external world around them. This is what makes the consumer ethically responsible and is ethically responsible. Then the ethical consumer makes purchases and investment appropriately as well as ethically. So he takes a conscious decision, prudent decision, and based on certain rationality. So that it doesn't go wrong anywhere. That's what the objective of the consumer, ethical consumer is. Then ethical behavior is equally important, which means that one is doing what is right and good in most situations for most people. And ethical consumer is also a green consumer. Now let us look into other aspect, the green consumer. Consumption has an impact on the environment that we have discussed already elaborately. Consumers need to consider reducing or abstaining from certain consumption activities which are environment and eco unfriendly. That's very, very important. If it comes to our knowledge, the particular products consumer they eco unfriendly and environment eco-friendly, it is better to avoid purchase of such a commodity, not only in our interest but also the interest of all others also. Consumers should change their consumption styles or patterns out of consideration for environmental protection. If the see you have to abstain if the product is going to affect the environmental protection, then it is better to abstain from making purchases or using such a commodity. A household can, for an example, prefer solar energy that is inexpensive but environmentally more sound than a conventional electric power supply. Now, the next we are moving to United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development 1995 and the rules and regulations related to the green consumer. Let us look into the inclusion of sustainable consumption objectives in the guidelines for consumer protection would reinforce recognition of the crucial role that consumers can play in protecting the global environment. Green consumers are those who consume goods and services consciously by the natural environment. These days, the natural products are coming in the market in a large scale, based by with the view to help the consumers to consume goods which are really environment related only. Now, green consumers buy eco-friendly products. Examples: products with little or no packaging, products made from natural ingredients, products that are made without causing pollution under procedure, produce the minimum wastage, consume minimum energy to work. Even now we have seen the packages made of the papers also. See, now use of the plastics is very, very extensively used across the world, which is in a large scale affecting the environment of the whole world. But with the view to say, even the governments have burned the use of the polythene bags. But even now, if you go to the markets, you'll find in a large scale this sellers are using this polythene bag only. But we have come across certain places, the responsible traders also, they started using this paper bags also in place. So like they are nobody is telling them use the paper bags. But for us, of course, for a smaller quantity goods and all. So these all comes under the green consumer and the responsible toward the society and all. So consumer need to follow the principles of three R's, that is reduce, reuse and recycle the commodities. That's what which can be very, very useful for the society as a whole. Now, consumers should show their responsibility towards the environment and society by buying and consuming eco-friendly products, even if they are to pay extra or more. That is very, very important. We should not be worried much about the price of the commodity. Even by paying little more price extra, we are going to get the environment protected, goods and all. We should go for it. Like, we have the habit of going for paying higher prices for a branded goods or a foreign items and all. So it's a shock for many people. We prefer less on the Indian item. We go for foreign goods and all by paying prices more, many times more also. Similar, analogous to that. If a particular environment-friendly product is even a little costly, if you have to pay more, better we should go for it, because it will save, it will protect from the health. Our health is very, very important. Instead of paying money to the doctors, better spend in this way and purchase the quality goods. Then we can we can use such goods only. Now, the central government, through its own Gazette notification dated 20th April, February 1991, declared its decision to institute a scheme on labeling of environment-friendly products. Now, what are those objectives of the scheme is concerned? The objective scheme is to provide an incentive for manufacturers, and it is already in your material, so I am not going to reproduce or repeat it. You may read from the material only. But the other important things, the scheme has nationwide application and provides accreditation and labeling for many households and other consumer products. Now, the label is known as the Eco Mark, that's for this eco-friendly mark. Any product which is made or used or disposed of in a way that significantly reduce the harm it would otherwise cause to the environment or considered to be environment-friendly products. Now, with this, let me conclude the discussion on this subject, and we look into on some other lecture.